Hey there, buddy. Welcome to the Profit Moffatt Show. Today, I am super excited because we have the Copy Alchemist, Pauline Longdon. How are you doing, Pauline?
Fantastic. Thanks for asking me to be here.
Yeah,
Excellent.
every time I mention your name to anybody, there is this amazing response, more so than anyone I can think of just this overwhelming praise. And I'm not sure if it's the mohawk or if it's just you, but something about you really gets people to like spark up and like shine and want to say amazing things about you. And I'm not just saying that too. I mean, I look at the comments I posted the other day,
Hmm.
and whether it's mutual friends or just people in our industry, you've definitely done something right in your career because people love you.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for that feedback. I guess it has to be the mohawk because I wasn't this cool before it. But yeah, it's funny to me that that comes up because I just really see that I'm just head down, bum up, doing what I do, just writing copy, doing marketing, and that's just it. Have got time to be anyone else but me.
Yeah. Well, I know that you have been traveling a lot recently, which you weren't able to do for the longest time, obviously, because of COVID and your country's crazy like restrictions during that time.
Yeah.
You're down in Australia, obviously, and you've been all over the place. What's the coolest place that you've been recently?
Oh man, I went to this year I went to Thailand, Italy, and to Panama, and they're all equally as amazing. Like I loved Italy, the food, my goodness, but I don't understand how I can like eat so much food and not put any weight on. But I go to America and I don't eat much and I put on weight. It's crazy.
Well,
Um,
I can tell you because the pasta that you eat in Italy is likely not sprayed with all the toxic
well,
materials that we get.
that is pretty true. Like Italy, like the food is very fresh, not as processed as elsewhere. Um, and then Thailand was fantastic, and again the food was amazing. The mastermind that I'm in with Trevor Toe Cracker, we did like cooking classes, and they were amazing because you get into like the local ingredients, the local culture, talking to the people. It's for me when you travel, it's not just like going and seeing a destination. It's like actually, I went to Italy and I didn't go and see the Sistine Chapel. I didn't go to the Vatican. I didn't go to all of the like regular things. Um, I actually just immersed myself in the culture. Ate what the locals were eating. Did some cooking classes from local people, in Tuscany, to see how they have different food to down in Rome. Um, yeah, it's just that immersion into the world instead of just seeing it as the observer. It's like as a participant. It's a different way. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Venice, Italy recently, in the
Nice.
canals. Although it was on Google Maps, I wasn't physically there,
There you
but
go.
I was
There you go.
pretending I was on vacation. I went up and down
Yeah.
every canal and I checked it out, and it almost kind of felt like I was there. but uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Well,
I don't travel that much, so I don't get to see a lot of those kind of things. I know that you were recently in LA and you went to the Magic Castle.
yes.
How was that?
Oh, that was fantastic. I mean, I'll be honest though, I got a bit anxious about the dress code because like I'm a female and like do I look like I wear like a ball gown kind of like a dress thing, and so I was stressing out about like what the female equivalent was. But when I was in Thailand I had this like snazzy jacket made, and so I wore that and some black pants, and anyway, they let me in, so that was brilliant. So as soon as I was led in the front door, all of the anxiety just dropped, and I could be 100% present because, man, you've been there. Like there is magic in every corner. Like that, there's so many things that are like just overloading you at a sensory level because, like, I was watching magic. Like the dude is like right in front of me, and I think I'm watching everything that he's doing, and then the little knife is changing colors from black to white, and then all of a sudden there's two knives. I'm going, but there was only one a moment ago. And man, that sleight of hand stuff is really, really powerful. It was a great experience. So
Yeah, it's one of my favorite places in the world, and they have, I mean, absolutely world class magicians there at the
yeah,
top of the game. And if you're ever in the Los Angeles area and you have a chance to go, not everybody has a chance to go too, because it's a private club, so you have to have a private invite.
yeah,
And that's kind of nice. It's like we all want the things that we can't necessarily get into. And
yeah.
so that level of exclusivity really, I mean, I think about us being copywriters, we're always trying to manufacture that anytime we can.
Mm,
But there it's just
yeah,
known, it's like you got to be
yeah.
in to get in.
Well, I mean, that's why I made the effort. I mean, I could have, and this is good for everyone listening as well. I mean, I could have let fear or inconvenience get in the way of, like, when I travel, to travel with like a dress jacket and everything that you need, my boots that I was only going to wear for like a couple of nights, a couple of hours that night. I could just go, you know what, this is too hard. I don't want to do it. But you know what? Something that I've found in my career and just in life again and again, just freaking show up. Like, make the
Yeah.
effort, show up, and then you get the results. Because I actually really enjoyed that night. And as you said, I was lucky to get the invite in the first place. So how rude of would I have been to go, you know what, I just don't have anything to wear. It's like, no, freaking go and get something to show up. And I'm glad that I did, because, I connected with people in the mastermind that I went to, the Magic Castle with, more deeply. We all shared the experience of magic together, which just, because we still talk about it. How the heck did they do that? We were just watching it, like, anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny because I'm a magician myself, and
Yeah.
sometimes I know the tricks, and I'm still flabbergasted at how they pulled it off. So a lot of times it's not necessarily how the trick was accomplished, but all the other things, the pattern, the misdirection,
Yeah.
and all the things that make it amazing. And sometimes even now, like, I try to just suspend my disbelief, and um, but I'm still wowed. It's
Mm,
unbelievable.
yeah.
So another thing that you have done, which I think was absolutely brilliant, I've done it myself, but not to the level of what you have done, is that you regularly publish a series of emails every week called the Knowledge Nuggets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm a big proponent of doing something once and, letting reaping the rewards many, many times. And you have taken those knowledge nugget emails and turned them into a book, into a series of books, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
And I wish I actually had the book. I just shipped all my stuff, so all my books are in route to the West Coast. Otherwise, I would be holding your knowledge nugget books.
Can
But
I? I'll get one.
yes,
Ah,
please grab it.
here. Okay. So that's the first one.
That's the one I have.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I just put down her email, the copyalchemist.com. And if you go to her website, I think over on the right hand side, you can sign up for the digital version of the Knowledge Nuggets. You'll get an email every week. And I swear they're some of my favorite emails to read, because emails now are just so crappy. They're just really, really crappy. And someone even asked yesterday, like, who are your favorite email writers? And you came to mind right at the top of the list.
Oh well, thanks. That's
And
an honor.
you do a fantastic job in it. So I want people to go sign up for that, so you can see how really well done emails are, because it's obvious that you don't just sit down at the last minute and scramble something out and hit send. It's like they are very well thought out. And I had to bring it up because it makes me, when I read your emails, it makes me feel like a slouch.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is that I'm not known as an email copywriter, and I never get invited to speak about like emails or anything like that. Yet, for the last 480, 86 this weeks, I've been writing a weekly email, and I've never missed a week at all. So
How
that
many
that
how
kind
many
of
weeks did you say?
486 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that works out to be almost like 9 years. And it's funny because like people don't think that I'm an email writer, and it's like, well, okay, I don't know what I'm doing then. The funny thing is that through that, and it goes back to the point I said before about showing up, is like I can tell you there are weeks that I don't want to write that email. I think, is this going to be the last week that I write it? But the thing that spurs me on is like the first time I ever make an excuse not to write it, it becomes very easy to make excuses after that not to do it again. So through thick and thin, like life circumstances and that, I think there was one day that I was late. It wasn't that I didn't send the email, I was late. And I think I get a pass because like that was the morning that I had to organise to have my cat put to sleep. So that was, like absolutely heartbreaking. But and I don't tend to write them ahead of time by much. Maybe I'll write them on a Monday and I send them out on a Wednesday, so they're still relatively fresh. But I just tap into like the consciousness of like what's going on in the world. And actually, if people if people sign up now, they're going to get a cracker of an email this week. I'm writing about how people get butthurt about stuff that maybe as marketers, yeah, feel the butthurt, but also observe what's really happening, why people are offended, and don't be offended yourself because then you miss the lesson. But anyway, so yeah, I love writing those things.
Do you think that there's any like connection with that kind of consistency and commitment? Like, because you were in the army
Hmm.
in Australia, and obviously being in the army, you have to be incredibly consistent and follow the rules and do everything on time. Did
Hmm.
that help shape to enable you to be that consistent, or have you always been that way?
Well, I definitely the army has a lot, and I mean because a lot of influence. Because I mean, I was a major, so I had to be consistent. Otherwise, people just don't know where they stand with you, and you don't want your troops to have like low morale and all that sort of stuff. So there is an element of that. But I think the time management, or I prefer to call it time optimization. We can't manage time. Time happens whether we want it or not. We just optimize how we use it. Um, that goes back to my nursing. I was an emergency nurse and ICU nurse, and if you miss something in your shift, someone could actually die. Like there are real world consequences to not being consistent or on the ball or missing something. It's like, oh, no one will ever notice. Yeah, people notice when they're gasping for air, or
Yeah.
their medication hasn't been delivered on time or whatever. So I think there is a bit of that, but it also goes, I think, to my ethics as well. Jason, is that when I first started those emails, I made a commitment to my list, and my list at the time was like about 5 people. So whatever, you got to start somewhere, and that was that I'm just going to keep showing up as while they keep showing up. And I mean, I know that there are people that my email goes out each week, and I know that it's about like 10 p.m. Eastern or something that it goes out. People read it immediately, and then they go to bed. Like I can't fathom that because there aren't any emails that I would be reading at 10 o'clock at night, no matter who they are. So I feel incredibly honored. So I just keep showing up consistently for those people. And also the other thing is, when I first started those emails, writing them about 9 years ago, there was all the Ben Settle thing. And I love Ben Settle and his emails, right? But everyone was trying to do the daily emails. And I just went, I can't commit to daily emails. I don't think I have anything interesting to say to people every single day. But by golly, I can actually commit to once a week. And so what I determined then and decided to do was actually just do it once a week, interrupt someone's week once with something really good that would leave them better than they were when they first read my email. And the moment that changes, that's when I stop writing them. 9 years later, I'm still writing emails because I still think I've got something to say to people.
I like it because you can, especially like in the book form, it's they're I don't want to say they're long emails, but they're not like short and pithy ones
Oh,
too. So it's kind
they're
of
long.
like I really enjoy, Charles Bukowski is one of my favorite authors, and one of the reasons that I enjoy it so well is because it's so easy to read, and sometimes a chapter will be so short that you'll say,
Mm,
okay, just one more chapter, and then you'll plow through it in like 4 minutes,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it was so good, and it kind of maybe has a cliffhanger, and then it's like, okay, just one more chapter, and so they're so digestible and consumable. Being a nurse in the army, obviously you have to have a certain level of empathy for the people that you're working with.
For
And
sure.
in copywriting, empathy is probably one of our top superpowers if you're lucky to possess it. And
Hmm.
do you feel like that helped your copywriting at all, or helped you to be able to better understand people?
Absolutely. Yeah, it really does. Because I mean, the empathy that you have as a nurse is like, okay, so everyone has their biases and judgments that they filter things through. But when you're on a ward, or when you're in like the thick of like, just an emergency ward where there's shit going everywhere, people dying, people coming in, it's overwhelming. You haven't got time to have that judgment. So the empathy is almost like unconditional in that moment. So they could be any race, color, creed, every belief system, and you're still in there doing your job. It never occurred to me to just say, no, I'm not going to nurse that person because of X. And that was one of the things through COVID. And I'm so glad I wasn't a nurse then. There were so many nurses that wouldn't nurse people who were unjabbed. And I just went, just freaking care. Like, keep caring about them because they're a patient who needs assistance right now. So yeah, I do think that empathy has come through in my copy, and also like being a registered nurse for some 20 years. I've got the way to be able to translate complex stuff, like doctor talk to patient understanding. So that's
Yeah.
helped me as well. So overlaid with the empathy, it actually gives me some pretty good superpowers that I can use in copy that I know that other copywriters haven't got. However, I think it's not that empathy can be taught. I think you've either got it or you haven't. It can actually be like released or turned up. And I think that a lot of copywriters, that they get stuck in the bro copywriting kind of like mentality or attitude. And so then they just like they trade their empathy for hacks, tricks and shortcuts.
Yeah, that's so funny you brought that up because I literally just wrote down the word bro copy, and I don't know that I've ever heard it before. And obviously, the copywriting industry is heavily dominated by males,
Hmm.
and I can think of, I don't know, maybe 10 that come to mind of women. Um, but is there anything that you could enlighten us about where, being a woman and having these levels of empathy, is there things that bro copywriters like are missing out on when it comes particularly to writing to women? Because I know I
Yeah.
used to
Yeah.
write for women,
Hmm.
and I know I'm guilty of getting caught up in bro copy for sure. um, can you talk a little bit about that and how to, like,
Yeah, for
what
sure.
people maybe are missing when they're trying to write to women?
Yeah, so at right now, I mean, earlier in the year, I actually accepted a copy chief position with a company that writes to female brands. And when I first started, they got me to have a look through all of their VSLs and a lot of their emails and that. And I went, oh, there's a lot of dude copy in here. And they got offended. They thought that I actually said bro copy. And I went, no, no, no. And I'm about to explain this, okay, what the differences are. But what they had was dude copy, so it wasn't full on bro copy. So let me just explain, because there's the way I categorize it and see it. Okay, so you've got bro copy, which is that real force and tricking and, just like trying to challenge people into a sale, right? Or into some kind of action. And I don't know that works. I mean, it might have worked back in the day where, men were men, and it was like, you challenged their masculinity, and that was all it was. It's like, oh, you call yourself a man, you can't even look after your family, all that sort of stuff. We've seen that copy time and time again, and it does work for certain men. When I'm talking about bro copy, I'm talking about like when men write to women, but they still use their own words. So it's like battling things like battling menopause. Women don't battle menopause; we endure menopause. There's men always revert back to that very combative, confrontational language, like, we're gonna we're gonna force this estrogen out of your cells, and we're going to, it's like that real, like, it is that force and push kind of like language, whereas women are more like, when we talk, we are just all about nurturing, and just, we think we're little like we're stoic, like we're putting up with this in the face of adversity. Menopause happens, there's not much we can do about it, but like, to just power on, that kind of thing. But there is another kind of copy that comes through, and a lot of people assume that like women can write really good copy to women. However, that's not necessarily true, because think about it, a lot of women have been trained by men, so they write what I call faux male copy, like fake male, they and trying to be a copywriter, there's that little bit of a play on words. So what I find is like, one of the first things that I did when I started copy, I got myself a mentor as soon as I could, and it was Trevor Toe Cracker Crook, right? Freaking awesome guy. He's as like blokey as they come. And so his copy, and also a lot of the males that I was learning from at that time were very like, it wasn't quite the bro copy, but it was just like very masculine copy. And I got to a point and I went, man, I am starting to sound like these dudes, and I don't know that this is a good thing. What if I could find a sweet spot? So then I sought out to find a female influence, and that happened to be Lo Morgan, who's a very good friend of mine. And she helped me with that, feminization of the copy. So then I used to say, I'm just going to put it through the feminizer, which is funny now, because I'm working on bots, AI, to help me do that. And not only me, because I know how to do it, but what about other people who don't? So, and I think it circles back to the empathy as well, Jason. It's like, one of the things I told one of my juniors recently, he's a male, writing the emails for this brand, and I said to him, dude, this is very much like, this is dude copy, almost on the edge of bro copy. I think the simple rule of thumb needs to be for you that if you wouldn't say it to your mother or your wife, then don't say it to our audience. You know what? After that one, like piece of advice that I gave him, his copy changed exponentially, and now I don't have to put too much feminization into his copy.
That's interesting, because I don't know that all men could have even taken that critique, even if they wanted to try. Like, a lot of men would still talk to their mom or wife that way, not even knowing the difference. And I might have been there myself years ago.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though. What I notice is, like, when men talk to men, they speak in a different way, right? And
yeah, we speak like we're 50 years old.
I know. Here's the thing. It's so funny. Like, okay, so everyday women apparently use like 21,000 words to communicate. Men use 7,000, not 7. Although sometimes it sounds like 7, because it's like, dude, what's up? That kind of thing. Whereas Whereas women are like, hey, girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. It's like we've said more in like one sentence than like a guy said all day. So that's something to remember. Like, but what I notice is when men speak to men, they're different. But when they speak to women, they're more considered in the way they speak. Maybe they're a little bit softer. Now, I'm going to just clarify something. When I say speak more softly to women, I'm not saying that softness is weak. Don't misinterpret. A lot of people will say that if I soften my copy, then it's weak. Oh no, I still go for the jugular with my copy for females, but I do it in a way that like is more the way women speak, which is like, you know, just not necessarily letting them come to their own conclusion, but making them think that they are, and then they think it's a good idea. I mean, anyone who's been in, you know, married to a woman or in a relationship with a woman knows that if you try to get them to do something that they don't want to do, then they will just dig in their heels and that's it. And if you try to do that in marketing, you'll get an enemy. And the thing with women is that, you know, you upset a guy and it's like, fuck her, you know, fuck you. They'll just keep it. Maybe they'll tell a good mate or buddy.
Forget women, about it in 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. Guys just forget about it, move on. They go, whatever, you know. Women, no, we stew on that shit. And we will, like, not only just stew on that shit, we will tell our friends, we will tell our family, we will tell the freaking internet. And, you know, anyway, we'll totally Karen it everywhere. So that's something to think about when you're writing to women. It's you know, I'm not saying write by walking on eggshells, but have that consideration that, you know, if you wouldn't even, okay, I'm just going to take it off the table. I said mother or your wife. Now, maybe that's not the person on the planet you love the most, but I would say if you wouldn't speak to the person you love more than anything on the world, on this planet, if you wouldn't speak to them like that, then don't speak to women in copy like that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's great. That's good. You know, you brought up Lori Morgan, and she was one of the other people that I mentioned whose emails I actually like to read. They're fantastic. They're so good. Mm-hmm. And so you talked about being in a mentorship, and what would you say are the pros and cons in copywriting of having a mentor? Like, how did it benefit you? Were there any things that, you know, that you didn't like, or, you know, for someone who's just getting started in copywriting, like, would you encourage them to get a mentorship, or should they just start banging out on their own?
Look, you know what, I think you've got to know, I think there's a couple of things that you need to know about yourself before you can know which paths to take. You know, some people seem to be able to get their stuff together all by themselves. Me, I could do that, but what I wanted the acceleration of my career. So, you know, within three years, I'd written more copy than most of my copy peers at the time. And by the time I got to 5 or 6 years, I think, then that was when people started to call me an A-lister. Not that that matters to me, because like the whole A-lister thing's been absolutely diluted now. I see myself now more as an A player, not an A-lister. So anyway,
I just call you the #1 copywriter in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, thanks. Well, that's funny because I'm only the 4th in Australia, so I don't know how that math works, but it's funny because I know that I'm not the first. The best copywriter in Australia, which is hilarious. Whatever, I don't care. Anyway, that's boy trophies, but but anyway, so getting back to the mentor, I got a mentor as soon as I possibly could, because I wanted the guidance as well, because what you can do is, like, without the right guidance, you go down these little paths that may be a dead end, or you know, like, I basically declared that when I was a first year copywriter, I wanted to be an A-lister. That was it. I didn't know A-lister. I didn't know Actually, that's when I was in Australia and I was still being influenced by the Australian copywriters. And then nothing, I'm not going to say anything too bad about them, but let's just say that it was very shallow learning experience. So then I thought, well, where are they getting their information from? I'm going to learn from them. Obviously, I couldn't learn from Gary Halbert because he'd passed away. However, his legacy and, his sons have done a fantastic job of preserving Gary's legacy. Started to read Gary's newsletters every day, like one newsletter every day. And I'm just going to take a sidestep there because I could say that he was kind of like a mentor by proxy, but if you want to learn how to write copy in a conversational manner, I don't think there's anyone better, living or passed away, that could write more conversationally than Gary Halbert.
Yeah.
My God, that guy could write, and I have learned so much from him. In fact, when I started to read his newsletters, when I first started, I'd do it haphazardly, and then there was a point I just went, you know what, you're ripping yourself off. Read one every day. Just sit there, the discipline. So every day before I wrote, I would sit there and read a Gary Halbert letter. And when I was writing my knowledge nuggets at the time, someone said, Pauline, who are you being influenced by or learning from at the moment? Because your writing is chef's kiss. It is like, what's going on here? And I went, I'm reading a Gary Halbert letter every day. And I went, oh my God, yeah, I thought I recognized the style. Now, I'm not going to insult, Gary, or try to, fluff myself up to say I wrote like him. There was just like a seasoning in the dish that I was creating, in the copy. So
when I started reading the letters, and it was at the very beginning of my whole online adventure, it's like I was already selling for about a year online on Craigslist and eBay, and it never occurred to me to go to Google and say how to make money on the internet. And when I did, shortly within that day or within a day or two, I was on the GaryHalbertLetter.com, and I was reading them, but I didn't understand what I was really reading. I didn't know but I knew I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I was reading it almost like a novel, and I was like,
Yep.
oh, next one. I was like,
Yes.
and I remember this moment. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I found my people. I'm like, these are my kind of people, and because I always just had a knack for street hustling, selling on the streets, and you could tell that Gary had lived a very rich life around a lot of different people,
Yeah.
and it just nothing other than maybe Kern resonated with me like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it changed my whole life. I don't think I would have had the amazing career that I've had in 20 years had I not landed upon that, because it really framed copywriting for me. I don't know. It kind of gave me a license to just be myself too. And it's because I didn't know how to write grammatically correct. I didn't know how to do a lot of things, but I was already a very colorful character.
Yeah.
And I had been writing hip hop rhymes for years. And so when you're a guy who's battling inner city black guys as the white kid, going up against old guys writing where you get to spend time thinking about your words, I was like, oh, this is easy. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I didn't, I was almost a little arrogant where I didn't look up to many of the guys. I thought I could beat them all right away.
That's cool. I was gonna go momentarily go back to the mentoring, because the thing with mentors is that they're fantastic, and I'm just gonna say it off the cuff. There's a lot of people out there that call themselves mentors. They do group mentoring. I don't know that mentoring is actually a group. Although I will say, I favoured one-to-one mentoring because I didn't want to go slow as the slowest person in the group. However, the only time I ever broke that rule was when I was being mentored by Paris Lampropoulos. because that's kind of like, getting the golden ticket, for the chocolate factory. And, Willie, like Charlie didn't go around there all by himself. He didn't get a one tour, but then people dropped off along the way. That's what happened with Paris. We started with like about 12 people. And by the end of the training, there was only 4 of us left. And, that was really, really difficult training. More difficult for me because I was on the wrong time zone. It was like 2:00 every Friday afternoon, which was consistently like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning for me. So that was 6.5 years of that. The calls were 3 hours every night, every Saturday morning for me, and there was a ton of homework during that. It was probably the hardest thing that I've done in my career. But like I wouldn't change anything about it. Not even the time, because it actually made me more hungry to make it work. Yeah.
Yeah. I never had a copy mentor, and it would have been very helpful looking back. Like now I have like a guitar mentor. He's like my best friend. We talk every day. We don't always talk about guitars. We talk about Buddhism and just all these things in life and about how we approach things. And there's a lot of parallels that would go into the guitars. But I think sometimes a really good mentor can help shape you in so many ways beyond what you're thinking you're originally getting going in.
Well, I mean, I'm a mentor, and I've been mentoring copywriters for about like 5 years now, maybe 6 years, actually a bit longer than that. Whatever, time flies when you're having fun. But anyway, so it's funny. A lot of them come in thinking that they need to just work on copywriting, but a lot of them we have to start with mindset first. And before I was ever a copywriter, I actually was in woo-woo healing and teaching and all that kind of stuff. Mindset practitioner actually is probably what it was. And so I still do that to this day, help people. I do like reset your mindset sessions for my mentees, specifically because you can have the world's best skills, but if you haven't got the mindset that backs it up, you're screwed. Like, yeah. And actually, I don't even have copywriting mentors at the moment, but I have a mindset mentor because I still want to keep that, mental edge that will keep me going.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because I've been working on a program called Mental Magic. And, I'm typically the kind of guy who teaches tactics, and because I just have so many of them and they fascinate me, and I love to see which tactic works and which doesn't. But what I realized is a lot of my customers come in and they like the tactics, but it ends up becoming analysis, or paralysis by analysis, where they're just learning more tactics, but they're not actually implementing it. And so my mind's like, what can I do to actually get these people to move the needle and take specific actions? And it almost always has to come from some shift in their mind state, whether they have an imposter syndrome or they're just inherently lazy or they, whatever it is. I feel like if you don't tackle that first, all the other stuff it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm fortunate because my mindset, even when I first started copywriting, was pretty good. I mean, I had to get myself out of depression after I got out of the army. So I've spent every moment since probably the 20th of September 2005 working on my mindset to get myself out of depression. But then, like, I left depression a long time ago. It doesn't even resonate with me. We totally divorced and they got to keep the kids and everything like that. So for whatever, but yeah, I mean, mindset to me has been the biggest thing that has propelled me forward, has helped me with my success, and keeps, helping me to even take on this copy chiefing role. I mean, it's freaking huge. Unfortunately, I can't say who the company is. I mean, a lot of people know the brand, one of the brands, but there's a mothership on top, and I'm copy chief for all that. But it's the mindset that keeps me going. because it's massive. Anyway.
So, in the past, you have openly talked about depression,
Mhm.
and and I applaud you for doing that because it's something that so many people usually bottle up and try to pretend, everything is okay, and then it gets so bottled up and it can
Mm.
be a catastrophe. Has it helped you to be able to articulate whatever you have been going through? And have you noticed that by you sharing your vulnerabilities and stuff, that has it helped other people?
Well, sharing vulnerability has helped a lot of people, and I did write a book about it. Do you want me to show the book?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wrote this book, and From Depression's Darkness to the Light of Life. Now, that's a long ass title for a book, and it's never going to change because Ted Nicholas, the late great copywriter, helped me to come up with that title, so it stays because I absolutely love that guy. But yeah, sharing the vulnerabilities and what I went through have helped people. I mean, people have bought the book and they've written to me saying, I found your book just at the right time. I was seriously contemplating, or I was about to jump off the planet. I was about to whatever. And your book changed my mind and helped me to see that there was some hope. And then also, like, when people know my story about trying to drive into a tree, um, it, it shows that, like, I don't know, people have this like misconception. They just look at people now and they go, "Oh, you've got it all. You don't know what hardship is. You don't know how hard it is to be a copywriter these days." And I go, "Yeah, in the internet where you've got like chat, you got like AI, and no, I don't know how hard it is, but I do know how hard it was when I started." And also with the depression that I was going through, I remember Paris saying one day, he goes, "You got to have a gun to the head mentality, Pauline. If I was holding a gun to your head and this headline didn't work and I pulled the trigger, is that the headline you'd go with?" And I went, "Yes, it is, because I don't give a shit if you pull the trigger, Paris." And
Totally. Yeah. It's like
he
I've had a
just
gun to
went,
my head every day.
he goes, "What?" And I went, "Yeah." So he'd never come across someone who had so much like disinterest in life. And I mean, that was even, I think, in about like 2017. I still wasn't engaged in life. Anyway, so, but just having gone through the depression again, it's another thing that I wouldn't change about my life, because otherwise I would have just stayed in the army, been horribly unhappy, got to my end of the career as a colonel, and what's next? I would have been a 50-something-year-old woman by then, and I would have had no career prospects, and it would have been like, well, what do I do now? Whereas the depression forced me out of the army. I couldn't go back to nursing because they said I was going to be depressed forever. And I thought, well, why the hell would you want to be around people when you're depressed? Like, don't do that to humanity. How about we find something different? And then I started a business. I hired some copywriters and marketers to write copy for me because I didn't want to do it. They sucked at it. I thought, I can't suck as hard as they do. So I learned it. And then all of a sudden people started to go, "Hey, can I pay to write copy for me?" And I went, "I can't see why not. Let's go." And the rest is history.
Yeah.
But when people know that about me, and a lot of people just see the fun-loving criminal that I am, like out there rickrolling the world and, silly little things, they don't know that part of it. It's like, it helps people have that like reality check that, hey, like the reason I wanted to end it all was the day that I was discharged. They gave me all the discharge papers. They were about like, reams of paper. I couldn't even, my brain was so fried from depression and all the medication. I couldn't even remember how to sign my name or spell it because I was functionally illiterate. I stopped reading books, everything. I didn't even read the paper that I was signing. I could have like signed away my kidneys or something for all I knew. Anyway, but to go from that to now being one of the top copywriters in the Southern Hemisphere, it's
Yeah.
like,
That's huge.
and also finding my sense of humor, because like, one thing about depression, and I'm grateful for depression, because like people say that they don't think that I'm as old as I am. Well, that's depression. It was better than Botox. It got rid of every single laugh line. I couldn't even smile for years. But now I make fun of it, like, yeah, it's
Oh my God.
you can really overcome the shit in your life. You just have to have the right mindset. And I'm going to say support. You don't have to do it alone at all.
Yeah, I think that's what I love about actually the copywriters too, is because most of us all know each other, and the
Yeah,
ones of us who get along with each other, we connect. We spend time talking to each other, whether it's on Zoom or on the phone. I'm very thankful to talk to lots of people, even your mentor Paris. I love
yeah,
it. I can call him up, and we didn't talk about copy. We're talking about guitar and songs and cool
exactly.
things, and
Mm.
um, it's a really interesting group of people, and it has enriched my life so much beyond copy, and I'm really thankful for that. So um, speaking of funny and humor, you're in Australia, and so you guys have all these slang words that mean weird things. And have you ever said anything in Australian speak that somebody else was like, what did she just say?
Yeah, yeah. One of the biggest ones that it kind of got like a bit it just got really like diluted, was okay, so there's the yeah nah thing that like Aussies say all the time, and it's like, but which one is it? And it's like, well, nah. But it's like, yeah, we'll say, like someone say, what do you want to do something? And it's like, yeah, nah, which is no. But then the funniest one is I'm not here to fuck spiders. And like someone will say, "Are you serious?" Or like, "Are you seriously going to do that?" And you go, "Well, I'm not here to fuck spiders." And it's just such a ridiculous thing, but it's like, I'm not here to muck around. Like, and anyway, then people try to like, like any kind of slang, it kind of gets lost in translation. So when you then try to break it down, what it actually means, I just say, look, have you seen the size of the spiders in Australia? Enough said. And then that usually covers them. But it's so funny because like being Australian as well, um, people think that everything down here is trying to kill us, and I go, you do know that I'm like over the age of 50. Like clearly, not everything's trying to kill you, or maybe I just learned to leave shit alone. And like, because where I grew up in the bush, like where my parents lived, it was like there was just everything poisonous around us. Like even the most poisonous spider, the funnel web spider, was there. We had paralysis ticks. Um, Everything was there, and you just leave stuff alone. It leaves you alone, and then you get to grow to a ripe old age.
So you weren't having boxing matches with kangaroos or anything?
No, because like, yeah, they're really dangerous. I mean, kangaroos are all cute, and all of the things like that are really cute. Koalas and things like that. But they can all basically rip the shit out of you. They've got really big claws, and the kangaroos can disembowel you because they balance on they balance back on their tail, and then they get their hind legs and just go. So yeah, really dangerous. So yeah, you just leave stuff alone. But I mean, we get really poisonous snakes, and we've got a great big python. Or how do you guys say? Oh, I don't know how you say python, but anyway,
Python. We
it's
say it like that.
yeah. Is it python? Yeah. Anyway,
So
it's slightly different because actually I'm speaking Hollywood Australian right now, not true Australian, because I want Americans to understand me. But yeah, we've got a huge python in our backyard. We've got a macadamia tree that it just hangs out in.
so my neighbor has, I don't know if it's a python, but he's got these huge snakes next door. And he also has alligators
Oh
and
no.
he has monkeys, he has bearded dragons. This guy's got the craziest petting zoo. And last week, like 7 sheriffs were outside, and then two like Department of Wildlife guys came, and they busted him because the alligators are illegal.
Oh
and
no.
he's had it since he was a little baby, and they're growing like pretty huge.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how he stomachs the smell. I went in to look. I had to
Oh yeah.
plug my. It was crazy, but
Yeah.
yeah. At any time, who knows? An alligator could get loose, like literally 30 feet over here.
Yeah. People worry about Australia, but I mean, go to Florida and like they've got lakes everywhere, and there's the rule that like, how do you know if there's an alligator in that lake? Well, if it's wet, that's it. They're everywhere, and people in Florida are worried about Australia. I go, my God, just anyway. I guess it
Yeah,
just depends on where you grow up as to what worries you.
gotcha. So one last question
Yep.
for a copywriter, somebody who wanted to potentially get into copywriting or wanted to explore, what would your advice be to them? How should they start out? What would be the first thing that they would do?
Oh, there's so much. Like, I guess they don't need to spend a fortune on training like mentors. There's so many good books, and like I'm just going to go back to like one piece of advice that I tell everyone. I've got like a Facebook group that I started this year. When it was a free group, I told everyone, I said, if you really want to get good at copywriting, just read Gary Halbert newsletters. Just read one a day. And by the way, I caught it, what you said earlier, that, you can't stop at one every day. It's like sometimes I would read three because I just needed to know what happened next, kind of thing. Gary totally sucked me in. So I would say just do that. And they're for free. Bond Halbert's got them, and,
Yeah.
and Kevin have got them up on a thing that's for free. It's incredible. It's one of the most amazing resources. But I think I'm going to give them a piece of advice that's going to help them be a really good copywriter and actually perhaps even open up the old empathy that they may have shut off. And that is, when you actually legitimately give a shit about the people that you're writing to, your copy just hits differently. I've got a saying that I tell everyone that I teach copywriting to, and that is bless, not impress. So as a copywriter, I feel that we are blessing people with the solution to their biggest problems in life. We are not trying to impress them with our writing prowess, our grammar skills, our vocabulary, and all that sort of shit. The copy is not about us. It's about them and their user experience. So I'm blessing them with the message, the solution, and the ease of consuming that message. So that to me is probably the most important advice that I can give anyone.
Fantastic. That was fantastic. And the whole hour chatting with you, I'm real thankful to have you here. And it's been a while since we've talked. And
Yeah.
I'd love to catch up too, just me and you, and find out a little bit more about your travels and whatnot. You got anything you want to plug other than we got the copyalchemist.com? You can go there. Make sure you sign up for those knowledge nuggets. You're going to dig them. Can people read past issues?
Um, Not really. We've got some on the website, but that's why we brought out the books, because we just realized that like now, as I said, there's 486 goes out this week. There's a lot that I can't put those all on the website,
Yeah.
so that's why we started to release the books. And the funny thing is, like I said, I'm not known as an email copywriter, but my very first email in this red book here is a reanimation or reactivation email. It's freaking hilarious. And people going, oh, what would you do? Like, you've got a cold list. I had a cold list of like 5 people that I wanted to activate. So, no, I don't want to really promote anything else. I've got some other things coming up next year. I'm going to be releasing a newsletter that I'm excited about. It's called Chief Sheets, because being a copy chief,
Yeah.
and I'm going to do like not cheats. I don't think you can really cheat yourself to the top, but I'm going to give people chief sheets and some chief codes and that kind of stuff in that newsletter. I'm excited about that. But yeah, just the Copy Alchemist, and thank you for the time and having me on, and thank you for
Yeah.
everyone who showed up. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend you obviously to any copywriters, but particularly if you're a woman and you want to dive into this world or see what it's all about, definitely go check out thecopyalchemist.com. Sign up for those knowledge nuggets. You can grab the knowledge nugget books obviously over at Amazon too, right?
yeah, Amazon, yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah,
Pauline, thank you so much for being here today. You know, I love you, and I'm excited to see what you do throughout the
yeah.
rest of the year.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, it's awesome, and I feel honored to be on the Profit Moffatt Show, and
Uh,
I'm going to share this around everywhere.
all right. Thanks so much.